What would happen if a professional gambler were put in charge of the biggest casino in America? A casino where millions of dollars flow in every single day. A mastermind who keeps track of every dollar behind the scenes. A gangster friend willing to do whatever it takes to protect both him and the casino. And then, a woman who turns all of their lives upside down. When money, power, and betrayal collide, even the empire of a man who once seemed invincible can come crashing down. Without wasting any time, let's jump straight into it. In 1983, Sam Ace Rothstein gets into his car and starts the engine. Seconds later, a massive explosion tears through the vehicle, engulfing it in flames. Through a voiceover, Ace begins explaining how everything led to that moment. The story goes back 10 years. At the time, Ace was one of the most respected sports betting experts in America. That extraordinary talent earned him the biggest opportunity of his life. He was chosen to run the Tangiers Casino, a brand new casino opening in Las Vegas. Building a casino of that scale required $62 million, far more than ordinary businessmen could afford. The money came from the powerful Midwest Mafia bosses, men who were already old but still controlled a massive criminal empire. At this point, the narration shifts from Ace to his close friend, Nicky Santoro. According to Nicky, they had the perfect setup. Ace controlled everything with his brains. Nicky handled problems with brute force, and the woman Ace loved was right there with them. In the end, the three of them destroyed everything they had built. Nicky says that people who came from the streets like them would never get another opportunity like this. In 1973, Ace arrives at the Tangiers Casino. As Ace explains, running a casino is all about selling people a dream. The flashing lights, the free hotel rooms, the champagne, and the women all exist for one reason: to get the money out of people's pockets and onto the casino tables. From the gaming tables, the cash is taken to the count room. Everyone considered it the most sacred room in the entire casino. Every time the money was counted, a portion of it was quietly removed before it ever entered the official records. The cash was handed to a trusted courier, who packed it into a suitcase and drove straight to Kansas City. The Midwest Mafia bosses gathered in the back room of a small grocery store there. Those monthly suitcases from the casino were all they cared about. The mob controlled the Teamsters, one of the largest labor unions in America. The millions of dollars needed to build the casino had come from the union's pension fund. Now they needed someone they could trust completely to run the operation. There was never any question about who that person would be. Ace had already spent years making money for them through sports betting. Even after receiving such an incredible opportunity, Ace wasn't ready to accept it. He had several criminal cases tied to illegal gambling, so he knew the Gaming Commission would never approve him for an official casino license. But the Mafia had already figured out a loophole. All Ace had to do was apply for a licensed position inside the casino. Until the commission reached a decision, he could legally keep working. If any trouble came up before then, they would simply move him to a different position and submit a brand new application all over again. To the outside world, Ace was nothing more than the casino's public relations director. As one of the Mafia bosses put it, Ace could make more money in a single week than Nicky could steal in an entire month. That's why they ordered Nicky to make Ace's safety his top priority. Ace's job was to make money. Nicky's job was to make sure nobody took it away. The film quickly shows how Nicky handled that responsibility. One day, a man disrespects Ace. Without thinking twice, Nicky grabs a pen and repeatedly stabs the man in the neck. Even the smallest argument could end in murder if it landed in Nicky's hands. Under Ace's leadership, the Tangiers Casino was making record-breaking profits. The biggest reason behind that success was his strict management style. Winning over politicians and government officials wasn't difficult either. A free hotel room, a few women, and a little cash were enough to make them look the other way. Ace's real focus, however, was on the high rollers, people who could wager tens of thousands of dollars on a single bet. One day, one of them wins $2 million and decides to leave the casino. But Ace has no intention of letting that happen. First, he delays the man's trip by claiming there's a minor problem with his private jet. When he tries to book an airline ticket instead, he's told there are no seats available. Finally, Ace warmly invites him back to the casino as if he's doing him a favor. Like a good friend, he casually suggests placing a small $500 bet just to pass the time. Ace knows that for someone who normally bets $30,000 a hand, it's impossible to stop once he gets started. Just as Ace expected, the man begins making huge bets again. Before long, he loses the entire $2 million he had won, along with another million from his own pocket, giving it all back to the casino. That was the casino's golden rule. Keep the players gambling, no matter what, because the longer they keep playing, the greater the chances they'll eventually lose. This entire system relied on constant surveillance. Dealers watched the players. Boxmen watched the dealers. Floormen watched the boxmen. Pit bosses watched the floormen. Shift managers watched the pit bosses. The casino manager watched the shift managers. And Ace watched the casino manager. Watching all of them were the cameras mounted throughout the casino. As if that wasn't enough, another dozen men stood with binoculars, keeping a close eye on the biggest gamblers. Every one of them had once gone to prison for cheating at gambling, so they already knew every trick a player might try. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. One day, while watching the casino's security cameras, Ace notices Ginger for the very first time. He catches her quietly slipping a few chips from the elderly gambler she's accompanying into her purse without anyone noticing. As they're leaving, the old man realizes some of his chips are missing and tries to stop her. In an instant, Ginger knocks all of his remaining chips onto the floor, creates a huge commotion, and disappears into the crowd. Ace says it was love at first sight. Money was Ginger's greatest obsession. She worked as an escort and was one of the casino's favorite people because she constantly brought wealthy gamblers through the doors. There was just one problem in her life. She could never completely walk away from her longtime boyfriend, Lester Diamond. She still called him her boyfriend, but in reality, he had become her pimp. Around the same time, trouble begins brewing in Nicky's life. The police are constantly trying to build a case against him, but none of it bothers him in the slightest. Nicky is actually proud that everyone knows he's a gangster. That attitude is exactly what worries Ace. Even so, the Mafia sends Nicky to Las Vegas. After arriving with his family, the first thing that catches Nicky's attention is Ace's luxurious penthouse. But even more than that, it's Ginger. Before anything gets out of hand, Ace gives Nicky a warning. Las Vegas isn't like the neighborhood they came from. Causing unnecessary trouble here could get them killed and buried in the desert, even by the police. Nicky doesn't take the warning seriously. The Las Vegas he sees is very different from the one Ace sees. To Nicky, the city is untouched gold waiting to be claimed. From his very first days in Vegas, he starts building his own operation. He begins shaking down bookmakers, pimps, and drug dealers for protection money. On top of that, he quietly gets involved in sports betting as well. His strategy is simple. If he wins a bet, he collects every dollar. If he loses, anyone who comes asking for the money gets beaten up instead. At first, everything goes smoothly. Nicky even acts like a respectable family man, showing up politely at his son's school. But no matter how normal he tries to appear, everyone in the underworld knows exactly who he is. One day, two men arrive at the casino to collect protection money. Nicky doesn't even have to say much. The moment they realize the Tangiers is under his protection, they quietly turn around and leave. No gang would dare come back after that. Even Nicky, however, couldn't deal with every kind of problem. When it came to people trying to cheat the casino, Ace handled them himself. One day, while watching a blackjack table, Ace notices that something doesn't feel right. Looking closer, he realizes a new dealer is lifting his cards higher than necessary. The cheat's partner is secretly receiving the card information through a tiny transmitter strapped to his leg. Certain of what was happening, Ace calls in security. To distract everyone else, they first stage a fake celebration around another table. In the middle of the commotion, the man using the transmitter is hit with a powerful shock from a cattle prod. Claiming he suffered a heart attack, security carries him down to a room in the casino basement. Ace walks in and asks him just one question. Are you right-handed or left-handed? The moment the man answers, Ace grabs a hammer and crushes that hand. While this is happening, the man's partner heads to the cashier to cash in the chips they won by cheating. Instead of paying him at the counter, the staff tells him it'll be more convenient to settle everything downstairs and brings him to the same basement room. Ace gives him two choices. He can leave with the money, but he'll leave with a broken hand. Or he can walk away empty-handed and make sure every other cheat in town knows exactly what happens to anyone who tries to scam the Tangiers casino. He wisely chooses the second option. Everything seems to be going exactly as Ace planned. Then he makes the one decision that will complicate his life more than anything else. He asks Ginger to marry him. Her answer isn't very encouraging. She tells him she doesn't love him and has never seen a truly happy marriage. Ace responds that love isn't the most important part of a marriage. Respect and trust matter far more. Love can come later. He promises to take care of her for the rest of her life, and even if their marriage ever falls apart, she'll never have to worry about money again. Ginger finally says yes, and the two are married in a lavish ceremony. But in the middle of all the celebrations, she's secretly crying on the phone with Lester. Instead of telling her to call off the wedding, Lester encourages her to go through with it. No matter what happens, he promises he'll always be there for her. After the wedding, Ace keeps every promise he made. He gives Ginger a luxurious life, expensive fur coats, rooms full of designer clothes, and a safety deposit box filled with jewelry worth millions. Whatever she wants, he buys it for her. But Ace goes even further. He places $2 million in cash inside a bank safe deposit box. The money is meant for emergencies, if the Mafia ever turns against him or if he's kidnapped for ransom. Then he gives Ginger sole access to the box. He tells her that if anything ever happens to him, she's the only person who can bring him back alive. Even the bank manager is shocked. While Ace is building a legitimate empire, Nicky is busy building one of his own. The difference is that Nicky's empire is completely illegal. He starts loan sharking, pulling Tangier's dealers under his influence, and even sending his crew into poker games to cheat players out of their money. When Ace finds out, he's furious. Nicky's operations are happening out in the open. The gaming commission could catch him at any moment. If that happened, Nicky would be banned from every casino in Las Vegas. Worse still, anyone seen associating with him, including Ace, could bring unwanted attention to the Tangiers. Nicky refuses to listen. As a made man in the Mafia, he isn't someone Ace can simply order around. Before long, exactly what Ace feared happens. The gaming commission bans Nicky from every casino in Las Vegas. From that point on, the two of them can no longer be seen together in public. Meanwhile, Ace's reputation in Las Vegas continues to grow. He even receives an award from a charity organization at an event attended by many of the city's most influential people. Ginger steals the spotlight that night. Ace, however, is extremely possessive of her. When a young casino executive gets a little too friendly with Ginger, Ace fires him the very next day. By now, Ginger has grown tired of life with Ace, even though they have a daughter together. One day, she asks him for $20,000. When he asks why, she refuses to explain. Angry, she says she's always taken care of herself, but now she has to ask her husband for money every time she needs something. Not long afterward, Ginger secretly withdraws cash from the bank's safe deposit box and hands it over to Lester. Ace has already begun suspecting her, so he has people following her every move. He walks into the restaurant where the two are meeting. A terrified Lester rushes out, only to be beaten up by Ace's men in the parking lot. Ginger watches the whole thing in tears before Ace forces her into the car and takes her home. After that incident, Ginger begins confiding all of her frustrations to Nicky. She complains that Ace had Lester beaten, that he never gives her any freedom, and that he controls every part of her life. Nicky tries to calm her down, telling her that Ace only acts this way because he's madly in love with her. But Ginger refuses to listen. Instead, she decides to use Nicky as a weapon against Ace. Around this time, Ace makes another powerful enemy, the Las Vegas County Commissioner. Earlier, Ace had fired the commissioner's brother-in-law, who worked at the casino. The man had failed to react after 3 jackpots hit the same slot machine in a row, something no competent employee should have ignored. At first, the commissioner approaches Ace politely. He admits that his brother-in-law isn't particularly capable and asks if Ace could at least give him some smaller position. But Ace refuses to change his decision. The commissioner's tone immediately changes. He reminds Ace that he and his people are only guests in Las Vegas, warning that if they aren't careful, they'll be sent back the same way they came. From that point on, problems begin piling up for both Ace and the Tangiers. Although Ace is the one running the casino, Philip Green is officially listed as its chairman, a businessman installed by the Mafia to keep up appearances. When one of Philip's former business partners files a lawsuit against him, the Tangiers is dragged into the mess as well. If the case reaches court, there's a real chance the Mafia's ownership of the casino could be exposed. The Mafia bosses decide not to let that happen. Before the case can move forward, they order the woman to be eliminated. Nicky takes the job. Instead of making her disappear quietly, Nicky storms into her house and repeatedly shoots her in the head. The murder becomes a major news story, and suspicion surrounding the Tangiers and its owners only grows stronger. To convince the public that the casino is operating legally, Ace agrees to give an interview to a leading newspaper. During the interview, the reporter asks whether Ace is actually the boss of the Tangiers. Ace answers carefully, saying that he only runs things whenever Chairman Philip Green isn't around. But the reporter keeps pressing him until Ace finally says that, in Philip's absence, you could say he's the boss. The next morning, the newspaper tells a very different story. It claims that Ace admitted he is the true boss of Tangiers Casino. That single article gives the county commissioner exactly the weapon he needs. Since Ace still hasn't received a gaming license, his public claim of running the casino becomes enough to push his license application to the top of the commission's agenda. At the same time, the FBI steps up its surveillance because of the murders, robberies, and other crimes Nicky is committing around Las Vegas. One day, a surveillance plane that's been circling Nicky runs dangerously low on fuel and is forced to make an emergency landing right on Ace's golf course. As Ace is meeting with Gaming Commission officials to clear up doubts about the casino, FBI agents suddenly come rushing through the area. Needless to say, it doesn't help his case. The friendship between Ace and Nicky also begins to crack. One day, Nicky shows up at Ace's house and accuses him of acting like he's better than everyone else. He says Ace has become arrogant and doesn't even treat his own wife properly. Ace doesn't appreciate Nicky interfering in his personal life. But none of this is what truly brings the casino down. The real downfall begins with one small mistake. The Mafia bosses notice that the monthly suitcases arriving from the Tangiers are getting lighter. One of the bosses has a habit of writing down the exact figures every month. The group always meets behind his grocery store to discuss the numbers. What they don't know is that the FBI had secretly installed a recording device at the front of the store years earlier during an unrelated investigation. Completely unaware of the bug, the boss openly discusses everything with his mother and brother-in-law. How the money is skimmed from the casino, who is involved, and where the cash-filled suitcases are taken. Without realizing it, he hands the FBI every secret behind the entire operation. Even then, the FBI doesn't move in immediately. They still need physical evidence. So instead of making arrests, they intensify their surveillance. Finally, the day of Ace's long-awaited gaming license hearing arrives. After years of building relationships with powerful officials and hiring some of the best lawyers in Las Vegas, Ace is confident everything will go his way. But it doesn't. Behind the scenes, the county commissioner is pulling every string he can. Under his influence, the hearing committee isn't even willing to listen to Ace's arguments. For the first time, Ace completely loses control. He explodes in front of everyone, calling the committee members corrupt and publicly reminding them of all the favors he had done for them over the years. The media turns the outburst into a major headline. Still refusing to back down, Ace plans to take the fight all the way to the Supreme Court. To remain at the Tangiers, he changes his official position to entertainment coordinator. At the same time, he starts hosting a television show, using it as a platform to publicly attack the Gaming Commission. While Ace is busy dealing with all these problems, Ginger suddenly runs away with their daughter, Amy, and Lester. After tracing them down, Ace calls the place where they're hiding. Realizing there's no way they can keep running, Ginger breaks down, apologizes, and asks if she can come back home with Amy. Ace forgives everything she's done and allows them to return. But the problems are far from over. In the evening, while they're having dinner at a restaurant, Ace asks how she spent the cash she took when she ran away. The conversation quickly turns into an argument, and the fight continues after they get home. That night, while Ace is asleep, Ginger secretly calls someone, asking them to kill him. Ace overhears the conversation, drags her out of the house, and throws her out. Yet when she comes back a short time later, he forgives her all over again. Even though a divorce would have solved everything, he simply can't let her go. The next day, Ginger goes to meet the person she had called. That's when it's revealed that she had been asking Nicky to kill Ace. When she returns home, Ace asks where she had been. She lies, saying she had lunch with Nicky's wife, Jennifer. Wanting to know the truth, Ace asks what they ate. Then he immediately calls Jennifer to see if she gives the same answer. Caught in the lie, Ginger admits she had been with someone else. Ace tells her he only hopes it wasn't Nicky. He already knows Ginger has never been faithful during their marriage. He admits that he isn't completely innocent either. But a relationship with Nicky is different. One wrong move could get both of them killed. Ginger promises to end the affair, but they're only empty words. By this point, Ginger's drug addiction is also spiraling out of control. One day, she ties her own daughter to the bed before going to complain to Nicky once again. Ace arrives home just in time to rescue Amy. While he's trying to calm his daughter, Nicky calls and asks him to meet at a restaurant so they can settle the problems in his marriage. At the restaurant, Ace warns Ginger that if she ever lays another hand on their daughter, he'll kill her. Back at the house, Ginger says she'll take the money that's legally hers, divorce Ace, and leave with Amy. This time, Ace throws her out for good. She immediately returns to Nicky, right in front of everyone. She openly reveals their affair and demands that Nicky kill Ace. Nicky wants nothing to do with it. He tells her he's known Ace for 35 years and asks if she really thinks he'd murder his closest friend just because she asked. Then he throws her out. Nicky even admits to his right-hand man that getting involved with Ginger was a terrible mistake. With nowhere else to go, Ginger returns to Ace's house. She creates a huge scene, threatening to tell the FBI everything if he doesn't let her back inside. The entire confrontation is secretly being watched by FBI agents. Even after all the chaos she's caused, Ace refuses to let her back into the house. But when two police officers arrive after receiving a domestic disturbance call, Ginger tells them she only needs to collect a few personal belongings. Using the officers to get inside, she steals the key to the safe deposit box from Ace's desk and heads straight to the bank with them. The moment Ace realizes what's happened, he calls the bank. But since the account is in Ginger's name, there's nothing they can do to stop her. Ace rushes to the bank, but the police officers block him while Ginger takes the money and drives away. She doesn't get very far. The FBI, who have been following her the entire time, pull her over and arrest her. Surprisingly, even after hours of questioning, Ginger refuses to reveal anything about either Ace or the Mafia. Meanwhile, using the evidence gathered from the grocery store recordings, the FBI begins dismantling the entire operation that had been running for years. Within days, they arrest nearly everyone involved in the scheme. They discover a diary containing even more detailed records of the entire operation. Realizing everything has been exposed, the old boss suffers a heart attack and dies on the spot. The remaining Mafia bosses are arrested as well. Some of them are so old and frail that they need oxygen tanks and doctors just to appear in court. During a break in the legal proceedings, the surviving Mafia leaders make one final decision. Anyone connected to the skimming operation, except for the few men already at the top, has to be eliminated. One by one, everyone tied to the operation begins disappearing. By this point, Ginger's life has completely fallen apart. In the end, she dies alone from a drug overdose in a small motel room. Not long after, the story catches up to the opening scene of the movie. The bomb inside Ace's car explodes, but against all odds, he survives. A thick steel plate beneath the driver's seat absorbs most of the blast and ends up saving his life. Ace is convinced the attack didn't come from the Mafia bosses. If they decide someone has to die, they make sure the job gets done. Because of that, he believes Nicky was most likely behind the bombing. The movie never gives a definitive answer. Personally, though, I'm not entirely convinced. Despite all the problems between them, Nicky always seemed to see Ace as a true friend. The next thing we see is Nicky's downfall. Nicky and his brother are lured to what they believe is a routine meeting by Nicky's own right-hand man. Once they arrive, his brother is beaten to death with baseball bats while Nicky is forced to watch. Only after that do they turn on Nicky, beating him just as brutally before burying him alive. To the Mafia bosses, Nicky had become a liability. His violent nature, reckless behavior, and the constant attention he attracted from the FBI had become too much to tolerate. By the end of the film, the old Mafia-controlled Las Vegas has been replaced by massive corporate-owned casinos. In his final voiceover, Ace says that the city once ruled by the Mafia has slowly turned into little more than an amusement park. As for Ace, the Mafia decides to let him live. Even without a casino, he can still make money the same way he always did, through sports betting. In the end, he loses everything he once fought so hard to build. The casino empire he dreamed of is gone. The woman he loved is gone. And after having it all, Ace finds himself right back where he started. And that's where the story comes to an end. Thanks for watching. Until next time.